Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. And today, fortunately, is not all about me. We've got some very special guests who are going to join me shortly, Jan Wischermann and MOJA. Jan being a retoucher and MOJA a photographer who worked on a very special project, which we're going to hear more about shortly. Before we do that, if you've joined us on YouTube, then you're very welcome to ask questions. Just pop a question in the comment and that will come straight through to us. If you are joining in our live streaming room, you can also ask a question, which I see some of you have found out how to do this already, which is great. And if you want to ask a question, if you're looking for that, then there's a Q&A tab over on the right hand side and that will come through to me. I can filter those through to Jan and our photographer MOJA. Now there is rather a lot of you, so if we don't get to all of your questions, then we'll apologize for that, but we get to as many as possible and pick out some of the common themes that you're asking for as well. If you want to hide the chat, you can do so. You can just pop that little down arrow and that will give you a bit more space on screen. This is also being, excuse me, also being recorded. So if you miss anything, want to review it, have to leave early or whatever, then that's not a problem at all. You can just pick this up on YouTube, no problem whatsoever. So that's enough of me speaking. Let's go and find our guests, Jan and MOJA, who should be on screen now. Hey, Jan, how's it going?
Hey, David.
Good. Hey,
Thank
MOJA.
you for having us.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So today we're going to be doing a couple of things. First of all, learning about your project, Women in Cinema, and then we're also going into Capture One as well to see how you've done some of the color grading and so forth. Before we get to that, and we've got a video to look at as well to give people an idea of exactly what the project was, can you just give us a quick introduction of each of you, who you are, what you do, for those that don't know, which I'd be very surprised if people don't know you, but just in case. So perhaps, Jan, do you want to go first? Just let us know who you are and what you do.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having us, David. It's a pleasure to be back here, and also that MOJA is joining is a great pleasure because we have been working on a really nice project for a couple of years already, which MOJA will go into in a second. So I'm Jan. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a retouch artist specialized in hair, beauty, and editorial, mainly look and color grading. And I've been doing this for, gosh, quite a long time already. 2002, I believe I started. And running a studio for high-end retouching here in Düsseldorf, Germany. And yeah, I love the what is it? The versatility between the two worlds of high-end commercial retouching and everything color work, editorial, and close collaboration with amazing photographers. So that's basically me.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go over. Let's pick up MOJA again. And yeah, what about you, MOJA? Give us the lowdown
hello,
on who you are and what you
thank
do.
you very much for this for having us. That's really cool.
Pleasure.
I've got two businesses. One business is activating big brands like Mastercard, Campari, and others to Champions League final, Formula One, Festival de Cannes, Roland Garros, etc. And my passion and my other business is photography. We mainly make pictures related to cinema because we are very, very close to Festival de Cannes. And here you are in my studios. We have 4 studios like this. Basically, 3 of them are only photography and 1 is only video. And we are based in Luxembourg. And we're very, very pleased to present this project, which is quite a big one, that we had a lot of fun doing it with Jan and the other 24 members of the team.
Yeah, there was a big team. I remember when we spoke just last week that it's not just you two guys. We'll see that in a second, actually, on the BTS, just how many people are involved. So what do you want to show first, Jan? Do you want to show your quick presentation, or shall I roll the video? What do you think makes sense?
I think to set the mood, let's run the video first.
Okay, so I've got a short video to play, and this will give us a little insight into the project. So let's just roll it. Okay, I'm going to hit this now. This is about 2.5, 3 minutes, so we'll be back when this is finished. Take care.
Exactly. Nice.
Can you tell us also the name of the project?
The name of Women in Cinema.
Okay, next one.
How many films is there altogether?
6.
Cut that out. The size of the set was incredible. It was like walking onto a movie set. It was so big and you felt so immersed in the theme of each movie.
That's our studios, and we have the 2 studios.
Really pretty.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you did.
Thanks.
Le projet Women in Cinema cette année, c'est l'interprétation de 6 films.
The Piano, $1 Million Baby,
Black Swan, Le silence des agneaux,
Moulin Rouge,
Lucy.
Où la place de la femme est très différente.
So we look at the core key elements of the movie and then we reinterpret, we breathe new life into it and we have fun along the way.
Well, a part of the sets are inside the studios, and so there was a lot of construction, building and decoration to have the sets done exactly as we wish at the beginning.
C'est un peu une montée en puissance de ce que nous allons faire dans le futur. Et la technologie que nous prenons au niveau de l'organisation des sets, de l'éclairage et tout ça, ressemble plus à des techniques de cinéma. Donc nous mélangeons un peu les techniques de la photo et les techniques du cinéma.
At the end, boom,
Yeah.
we
Oui.
Ce projet Women in Cinema 2025 est un projet qui va aller à Cannes pendant le festival. C'est un peu l'aboutissement d'un voyage très intéressant au niveau contact humain et au niveau réflexion sur la résilience de la femme à travers des films prestigieux comme ceux que nous avons interprétés.
There we go. So welcome back. I think that gives everyone a good idea of what the project was about, but you can say it in your own words as well, Jan and Moya, and then we're going to look at the final images that you've got in the presentation and a little bit, I guess, about the philosophy around it as well.
Yes,
Shall I
believe Moya.
bring your screen
Yes,
up?
I think. Yeah, how the project has been born is we started in 2017 when the Weinstein problem that we had in Cannes and the Me Too coming up. There was a big French actress, Catherine Deneuve, who said at a certain point, women they don't need protection, they need just respect. And she was totally killed by the press. Because they were not very pleased with her, but we thought the what she said was correct, and we have decided with the Festival de Cannes to interpret films to show the resilience of women through iconic films without entering the debate for many reasons. The first, because it has been polluted and poisoned by the politicians. Secondly, we don't have the legitimacy to speak about women. I don't think so. And third, and most important, is that these kind of discussions should not exist. Everybody should do whatever he wants and whatever he wants to be. So we have shown the resilience of women, that they could be queens, models, actress, beautiful person, but also bitches, gangsters, a person on his own. So we have decided to interpret these films, to make these posters, new posters, reinterpret posters, to show them like this without any slogan, anything, just to let the people thinking. And it has been taken by the film community very, very well. And that's why we go on and on and on with sponsors. We have 6 sponsors for next year. We don't know how we're gonna do all this, but it's really, really a nice attitude to have, I think, without entering the debate, which is too complicated and totally out of line. So that's why we started. And we are now, next year, we are analyzing 16 films, and I think we're going to produce at least 12 of them.
Fantastic. And this is a project that started in 2017, correct?
Yes, exactly. 2017, just after the Weinstein. Weinstein had a big impact in Cannes, of course, and the fact that it has been caught and has moved a lot of persons. Everybody knew it in Cannes, so everybody's hypocrite. But it has, at least it has raised the Me Too, which was not bad in the beginning, and we have followed that. We had given our contribution without giving our thoughts and our thinking about the project, about the problem.
Great. Okay, Jan, do you want to go ahead and show some of the images and the importance of the color grading in this context?
Yes, absolutely. So for those of you wondering why we are choosing this topic, it is very important for us to first understand what makes a great movie poster, because it is essential that if you present these kind of movies, the interpreted movies, in a setting like the Cannes Film Festival, it has to be telling a story like movie posters do. And so we were looking at the core elements, and I would love to quickly go through that. Of course, you can just take screenshots and take a look at it later, but of course you have to grab the attention in such a busy place as the festival in Cannes. So you need to make sure that you have an emotional connection with the people watching the posters. And also, when we're talking about the project that we did for this year, it was 6 movies that are not related to each other, and we had to find a visual language that combines all of the 6 sets that we had and tell the story of women in cinema. And therefore, we created a characteristic look, which we will go into in a second. And that is essential to know when you create a color grade for such project, or for even if it's a project that would be just one editorial, but maybe it has different images in different sets or settings. It is very important to make sure that these are aligned with some characteristic elements. Can be the light, can be the color, can be like density of the light or whatever. And for this project, we wanted to make sure that we have this cohesive look, and we used color to unify the images. As you can see in a second, when I show you the final images, it is completely different light and setting, but we wanted to create like certain elements. Like, for example, you will see that we worked a lot with color in shadows and in the lights, and we tinted it like movie posters sometimes are, like creating a very certain special mood. And we wanted to make sure that we have the story of the movie, of each individual movie, told in that one image in the best possible way. So we used color to play with emotions, and that is, I think, a very important element as well. And the last thing that is on this list here, it is very important that it fits into the setting of the festival. So we need to have it professional looking. And that being said, let's check out the final images that we have produced. So there is more per movie, but I picked 6. for each individual movie. And you can see that all these sets have been built in the studio of MOJA. The left one is the boxing ring for the movie $1 Million Baby. The middle and the top line is Moulin Rouge. And on the right side, it is Black Swan. On the bottom left, it is Lucy. And this is a very special movie set that has been created because it is shot with a UV flash, and Patrick can say a bit more about that. This is basically, yeah, maybe you want to say something about that, because I really love the set that has been built for this.
It's that's the one which has been the most difficult one, and there is a company in France which has fed plants with a special liquid which is translucent, and that effect is the picture is it's taken with a UV attachment of brown color, and they pop out like this just because these plants have been fed with that product. It looks a little bit when you're in the studio, it smells a lot, and it's a little bit like a Chernobyl kind of environment, but it works really perfectly and it's quite nice to. But it's a lot of preparation on that shot, because you need at least 3 to 4 months to feed the plants or to inject the product to the plants.
Yes, and as you can see here, it is to be said that all of these sets have been created over a long period of time. So the tiniest details in these sets have been created by hand. It's not that it has been done in post-production. That is very important to say. With this project, there goes so much love and detail into this kind of images, that there has been like set designers that have, even, for example, in the boxing ring, they have been working with nicotine that they have been putting into the color of the walls so that it looks like worn down. And so every little thing has been created to be accessible in the studio. And as you will see when we switch to Capture One, the lighting has already been perfect, and it was just about making sure that we create this kind of color look. I will go through a couple of those images so that you can see a bit more of the variety, and even that they became one family. This is also from $1 Million Baby. This is the Moulin Rouge one. And you see that we also made sure that they look like movie posters, with the credits of the whole team, with the headline, which is a quote from the movie, not saying the title. This has been shot in a theater in Liège, in Belgium. This has been on set in Luxembourg, in a cage. Is it a cage? Yes, I guess. Here, there you see it. And so we've been working with the core elements of the movie itself and putting them together in Capture One and Photoshop in the end. All right, but now that you have seen all this, you're wondering how we created the look, and I don't want to keep you waiting for any longer.
Everyone is always impatient, of course.
All right,
but question on actually go back to the keynote again a second, Jan, just to, because I think you told me something which is also interesting for the people listening, is that the billboards, and if you missed the BTS or didn't pick it up, is that these existed in daylight and at nighttime. So they were backlit at night and then reflective in daylight, which must have been incredibly challenging for the printer as well, and only not just for you as well.
Not just for the printer, yes. So we had to keep in mind that during daylight, and there's a lot of daylight in the French Riviera, so we had to make sure that these are printed on a. Moya, what is that kind of material? Is it a like?
It's a plastic bash canvas, and you have to know that we had to reprint some of them 3 times and some others 2 times, just to be sure that they were not too clear or lighted at night, and they were still visible and nice during the day.
Yeah.
So that's that job that Jan did on this has been really difficult for him.
I can imagine.
Yeah, the challenge is that you cannot really simulate those two.
No, how
effects.
do you even test that? It's not like you can set it up in CAN and wait for the sun to go down and check it.
But
so,
we did it. That's what we did it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We made a first shot, and then 2 days before Cannes we put them on. We've seen they were a little bit too dark, so Jan had to rework on them and then replace them, and then for some of them another print. So
Wow.
outside, because it's 6 meters space. You cannot make, if you have a small one, you put it on the window. It's depending on the sun, but it reflects totally different. So you have to be on site and see both period of the day, which is full sun and night.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, that was.
And of course, there's a Ferrari in Cannes.
Of course. Yes. Yeah, so you see the size of these panels, and also inside, it needed to be like on point, and we made. I think we made it happen very successfully, and the feedback was great. And we were pleased with the results very much, because it has been that kind of challenge that you cannot simulate to wrap this up.
We have been nominated by all the people that they work for, all the other sponsors, as the best activation this year.
Oh, I didn't know.
Fantastic. That's
cool.
great.
That's cool. And so let's talk about what we did.
Yes.
And how we did this and why we did this. Let's start with the first movie, Silence of the Lambs. This is the final created grading. I will show you the before. This one is quite subtle, actually. I hope you can see everything. Also, the bodies down there. Very important part of the set.
We see the bodies. Yeah.
And this needs to be a bit bigger. So as you can see, I'm working a lot with layers, and the new masking features in Capture One are a godsend tool for us, which makes it so much more enjoyable to play with the images, because I essentially consider it like being a very joyful process. It's not something that should be like nerve-wracking or anything that you don't enjoy, because if you don't, I think it's probably not the right task for you. What we have here is the image that has been straight out of camera. And as you can see, the light already was excellent. We had a beautiful mist up here, and everything was visible just as we wanted it to be. But if you see the final look, there it comes into play what we said initially. We wanted to play with the emotions, and I usually, when I color grade images, or when I work on the finish of an image, it's about showing what couldn't be captured in camera, and that is, we wanted to make sure that we have like the cinematic grading, which is the blue reflecting the evil in this kind of movie, like Hannibal Lecter. And Buffalo Bill, and also the strength and empathy of Clarice Starling, and she is in the center of the image, and we wanted to have the complementary contrast in it, and also guide the light a bit more towards her. That's why this moth has been taken down a tiny little bit, and if I just deactivate all those layers, I would show you exactly what has been done.
And question for you, Jan.
Yes.
So the color grading. So you said when we were looking at the BTS, it's to, first of all, to make sure that the images all look like they're in the same family. So the color grading wasn't like completely different for each image, like the choice of the tonal tints that you picked for shadows, highlights, midtones, etc. They were kept relatively consistent throughout all of the images. Yes.
At least throughout all of the images of one movie, but there are other characteristic settings and adjustments that we made to have a coherent storytelling throughout all the 6 movies, which have been differently shot. And I would love to walk you through this so that you understand what I mean, because MOJA is shooting with phase 1. Is it IQ4? Like a ton of megapixels, which so it has a lot of detail, and sometimes we need these details because the scenes are very big. But sometimes it is, if you look at movie posters, nothing. It is about creating a piece of art, and in this case, I decided that it would be great for it to be a little less sharp, so that it gets this kind of dreamy look. And the first thing that I did was I took down the clarity and structure with the natural mode. This, if I zoom in a bit, you can see that it softens the overall image a bit, which I very much like for editorial looks. And the other thing, we work with a film grain, but when working in a professional workflow, especially when there's a lot of people involved, I put the grain in the end. So that is why it's not activated yet. And the other thing, in this case, I used a tiny vignette to center the light a bit more. And when I worked on the images, the retouch faces feature was not yet released, so I had to do it myself. And the other thing that we did in this, which is in the base layer, was the high dynamic range. And I love working with this to balance the drama in the image. So we increased the highlights, we opened the shadows a bit, increased the whites, and whenever I open the shadows, I pull down the blacks to keep the contrast, but make it more impactful and show the tiny details, especially here in the shadows. Because if you think again where it was printed, we had to make sure that the details are still visible in the final image. And that is a key thing to remember when working on color grading. It's always very important to look out for where it's going to be shown and how. If it's printed on a certain material, or if it's just shown on digital displays. So you need to be mindful of the details that need to be seen, because otherwise, if it's too dark, you will end up with a black mush, something that will not be identifiable. And so I took down the clarity, as I said, and sometimes I counter adjust that with the contrast, and that's basically it. So the white balance was set here. This is a more or less neutral step, so not too much color. This is just by working with the white balance a tiny bit. Then the next thing was coloring the darks. And here I have created a mask that is like leaving the center out of the adjustments, because I wanted to introduce the color grading that I mentioned with the warm and cold complementary contrast. And that, let me check if I did here. No, this has been done in the curves, I believe. Let's check. Yes. So it has a bit of red that has been taken out to make the midtones a bit more blue. And that was a tiny adjustment. And we opened the midtones in the Luma curve a little bit. And the saturation has been, let me check, increased for the center. This has been tiny adjustments. So it's not a lot, but it's building up the effect very slowly to make sure that we have got the most control. Here is this the grading part? Let me check. I have to activate them all. Yes, and I believe in one of those here, the blue light has been introduced with the color balance tool. and just in that areas here where we wanted it to be. So it's building up these kind of effects very slowly with the control of masking, and these are painted in or used the gradient map masking, which is super handy to create these kind of gradings. And I always use the color balance like very big, and so that I have control over all separate elements. So the highlights have been tinted, the midtones have been tinted, and the shadows have been tinted with the blue light adjustment, so that we have got like a lot of control for where the color goes. And if we, for example, go to the next image, you can see that it's the same grading, but differently applied. Let's see that. I hope you can see the image. This is the before. It has been very well lit. Everything was perfect. But when we decided that we wanted to go for that really cinematic, very contrasty look, we came up with this. And here, so the base layer works in this case with an inverted vignette. It has been darkened quite a lot here with the exposure. And again, this builds up. So first thing, I took down the exposure. It has been quite bright, the way I adjusted it. And also, again, with the high dynamic range, these two settings are crucial for setting the light. And the negative vignette then opens the corners on the outside of the image, which creates this kind of tension in the middle, what I wanted to create, because she again is the good versus the evil, which used to be in the cell. The door is open, and she was checking for Hannibal Lecter, and so there we wanted to have the dark center, and she was at the edge of it. So it's basically underlining the story. This Dutch, if I show you the mask, it's very subtle. It's just the face that has been lighted a bit. And here, again, we have the color grading in the darker area. And this was just adding a touch of light in the end to the center. And then if you see the final before and after, you can see that it was quite a lot of color and light adjustments, but it was just enough to make sure that the story really pops.
Can you show us the color darks layer once more, Jan?
Yes, of course.
And then that was with using the curve tool, and there was a question earlier which was, let me find it because I can't remember where it was. Oh yeah, Fawn, who is a big fan and has queued up a couple of questions before we even started, said, what is the functional difference between using the tone curves and the levels tool, and when should I use one or the other? And what you've done with the shadows here looks great, but it's such a subtle adjustment in the curves tool, but with a big benefit as well.
Yes, of course. First of all, that's a very good question. I believe, from my understanding, everything you do in image adjustment tools is based on curves. So levels is basically just another tool to play with the curves or the channels. Here, you can adjust the shadows and lights moving these sliders. And you can also go into the separate channels. For my taste, I'm more used to working with curves because I think I have more control by being able to pull the curve wherever I want the adjustment to take place. So here it's the midtones. If you look at that curve, this is the dark tones, this is the light tones. If you go from left to right, same as here. But you can set as many points as you want. Like you can go really crazy with curves and be either very subtle or very precise or very over the top. And I think if it's very important to understand how these tools work. So if you pull down like the top here, you will introduce some cyan, because if you take red out, cyan will come in. And if you do the opposite, red will come in. So red in, red out, and the same here. And if you understand how that color works, that the color relation works, so this is green is the opposite to magenta, and blue is the opposite to yellow. So this way you can control the light in the image, and you kind of, for example, pin these curve points, and then you can just adjust the tiny light sections. In this case, there's not much light in the highlights, so we would have to pull it down quite a lot. But as you can see, it has a nice effect. And when working with levels and curves, especially for grading, my suggestion for people who want to try that is create a new layer, fill it with fill mask. And if you do that, you can then play with the adjustments, and then you can use the opacity slider to make it just take it completely off and bring it in as much as you want. Because usually we have a tendency to go too high, and I love to play with the adjustments and then just adjust it to a level where I think it really does well to the image and enhances the story that we want to tell. And especially when working with a set of images like this, you can put them all together, and you can then adjust the opacity to make sure that these are one image family. And there's another good example where I can show you what curves really do and what the impact of it is. So, and why it is important to understand how they work. Because for example, with this image here, or with this, it has been created out of two parts. So MOJA first shot the perfectly lit scene for $1 Million Baby. And then we have placed the model inside the set and had a separate light for her, just to have the right lighting for this model, because otherwise it would be too dark.
I'm glad you brought this one up, Jan, because I'd forgotten about this, that you'd shown.
David, you went silent for a second, or it was just my speakers?
No, I went silent because I pressed the wrong button. I've got like 24 different scenes, which I'm used to about 4. So yeah, I just was saying, glad you brought this up, because obviously it's not immediately obvious from the final poster that you've got a plate and then your foreground. And I remember, MOJA, you were saying that you work quite a lot with plates. But it's completely seamless in the final result.
Yeah, because a plate is easy to handle. You just have to cut the image and reconnect, and it allows you to put the light closer to the model, which makes it a little bit smoother. So we work a lot with plates. I'm not saying that half of them, but at least a third of the pictures that you see has been made with plates. To be able to control everybody. I think there are a lot of photographers on site, but when you double the distance of a shape or a light, you lose 4 times the light. So it's good to be able to adjust the light easier when you do some plates, but that's quite common. It's not. I didn't invent that.
I guess you just, if anyone kicks the tripod or knocks the camera, then the worst person on the set at that point.
He's dead.
You saw the bodies. You saw the bodies in Silence of the Lambs.
That was the tripod kickers. Yeah.
2 of them.
Okay, yes. Sorry, Jan. What were you saying about the?
Oh well, I wanted to get back to the curves question, because this is a very good example for this. Here, the grading was done a little differently, but again, the same characteristics, just to make that clear, is working with the clarity and working with the vignette. Clarity to soften the sharpness, to give this the mood that we wanted to transport. The set has been very like the final image. Let me go back to the final image for a second. We wanted it to be very moody, and this dark rundown gym where she's training and where she's, you know, just preparing for her fights and for her journey. We wanted to make sure that we have everything in the image that really transports that idea and the message. And therefore, two main elements were working with the contrast, bringing it down a bit, make it softer. And then, let me check if it's already in here. I have to open this first. Okay. And let's go back to that scene. And I have to make some room to give you the option to see everything. Okay. So if we take a look at the before and after of this one, you can see that the shadows have a color tint, and that is blue and green. Why? Because we wanted to complement the warm light that has been in the scene, and also the yellow of the nicotine and all the dirtiness in that gym. So we wanted to have that kind of color harmony in it again, to be the stage for that story. And let's go back here. Let's see if it's in this one. Here is the curve in that. So first, there was again, in the image layer, in the bottom layer, there's the neutral conversion. It's just centering the light, taking care of the sharpness and setting the mood, and dimming the light a bit also with the, where is it? High dynamic range. So this and the exposure tab, they work together. So dimming the light, readjusting it, playing with it, setting the vignette, and taking out the clarity. And then the interesting part begins where the color is introduced. And let me pull out the curves. So what did I do? The first thing that I love doing is pinning all the quarter tones, like the highlights, the light quarter tones, the midtones, the dark quarter tones, and only work with the shadows. In this case, if I take off that, you can let me zoom in the darks. I hope you can see that through the stream.
Yep, we can see it. It's no problem.
Okay, so playing with this and bringing a lot of contrast into the dark tones to really go as far as possible, making sure that this color gets transported the way we wanted it to be, is playing with curves, playing with the tones. Of course, you can do that with levels as well, but I believe being able to pin these, being able to play with the intensity like this, it's a very subtle move. It's not rocket science. It's about understanding where and how to bring in the color. And I brought in just as much so that we get close to, like, it's almost breaking, and it's like almost too much. But I think that is exactly what makes the difference in the end. We want this to be like very vivid in the end, especially with the backlit panels. These colors were very dynamic, and we wanted it to really pop. And that is exactly the feedback that we got, that the images were very compelling on site. It was very vivid. It was alive. It was full of intensity. And but MOJA, we have been discussing, right, on set, and also during the shooting days, because one image is prepared in one day when we work together. So there's always one set we have been working on, and we always sit down either in between when the styling and makeup is working their magic. We sit down and we evaluate the scene. There's always a pre-lighting, pre-shoot, so that we know what we're doing the next day. And we always take the time to play with the colors and play with the mood and see already on set what happens and where it can be taken afterwards. Of course, this is the beginning, and then we fine-tune it later, and then we bring it all together and make sure that we have this kind of cohesive story.
So to you and MOJA, you had your pre-light day, and then you had your actual shoot day. So you pretty much wrapped up each set in that. I mean, obviously you had an enormous amount of set design and lighting planning beforehand, but in terms of the actual we're going to shoot this, you had your pre-light day and capture day, and then on to retouch. So
yes, exactly. Here
rapid.
we have made more than a day per set. We have made like 8 or 10 days of pre-lighting, testing everything, so moving the light and things like this, and then on site. And I'm raising an interesting point is that I always like to have Jan, my retouch artist, on site for two reasons. Because if you've seen the little modification he does are not many, but makes the final image. It's the extra mile. So. And for two reasons. First of all, because I can see where we go after talking with Jan. Jan makes the modification straight away on the Capture One studio, and then the second shot and the third shot and all the other shots looks a little bit alike. So when we have like an agency or a client going through a Capture One Live studio, watching why we are working. It's very interesting for us to have not the final image because that's too difficult, but at least to have a glimpse of what we are aiming to, and that's very, very interesting. And I would push all photographers to have the retouch artist on site. It's really, really saving you so much time. Yeah. But here, the lighting, we are very, very keen to have what we call the motivated light. So every single lighting that you see on the pictures has been motivated by a source, which is on the image or outside the image. That's why you're going to see here the blue on the floor. If you come back on the has been motivated by the fact that we have night shoot, and so I have asked Jan to put a bit of blue on the floor as well. And the model has a lot of light because it pretends to be lighted by the light on the piano. So the pre-light takes a lot of time, lots of effort because we have to move all the time and things, but it's worth it at the end.
And you're mixing continuous and flash constantly as well. Yeah.
Yes, which is a bit of difficulty because I always shoot f16 and 250, not to have here we have to make compromises because the light outside, which pretend to be the light of the moon, is a sky panel from Ari, has not the same power as a flash. So we have to downsize the speed of shooting. So we have to shoot a little bit. So there is always compromises to do, but we love to mix video lighting, still lighting, and flashes. It's really gives a cool extra possibility on the images.
Definitely.
Yes, and also to mention is that the set was built so that outside there was a simulated moonlight, right, Patrick?
Yes, exactly, and it's we could have done it with flashes, but the flashes we would have had to put too many sources to have that because we have some smoke as well, smoke machines behind it, just to give this. And we would have had to put too many flashes. So with these sky panels, it gives that night lighting, which is quite nice, but not power enough to put the blue on the floor. That's why Ian has added some blue on the floor.
Yes. And here is another good example for how to do like basically everything that is the look with curves. This is without the curve. And here you can see the effect of the exposure The vignetting is not active here, but again, the clarity to take out the contrast. But the curves are used to bring in the punch that we wanted, and you can see that especially in the shadows. And here, my goal was to really break the rules again, to make something that really pops in the final setting of the festival in Cannes. We wanted to make sure that we, on the one hand, have the cohesive color grading and the bluish, greenish shadows, and also the warm tones that have already been present in the set. And here, for example, the RGB curve has been used to lighten the bright quarter tones and the midtones, like this. And here again, there was a lot of like blue cyan that has been brought into the shadows. If we take this off, you can see that. Like there, it really gets into the shadows, and here it gets blurry because we wanted it to be like this is the center of the attention. If we go back to the final image, you can see that here the text has been shown. So this had to be darker, and that was a way to make sure that we can like make this good stage for the text and for the information, which is also to be considered when working for movie posters, right? So we can go a bit further in terms of contrast and color. And same here, there was blue introduced. And then if we zoom in and if we check the floor, you can then see that if we activate that and deactivate that, it really gets this kind of vibe that we were aiming for. Let me go to another example, maybe like the Moulin Rouge is also quite interesting in terms of color. So this is the original version, and here we played with the color as well. And I believe I'm always checking for the color balance because I know that I used it in some of them. I just have to make.
Yeah, as you've got somewhat of a candy shop of various different tools, it's sometimes tricky to know which one did I actually use on this layer.
Yes, but obviously it was not in this image, but you can, right? This is another way of playing with curves actually, because it's just another, let's say, UX for playing with curves. So basically what you can do is like you use the shadows, it's that part of the curve. The midtones is this part of the curve, and the highlights is this part of the curve. So if you divide that into 3 columns, you have the same effect. But you can then like bring in the color into the midtones or into the shadows, into the highlights. And here again, you can play with it and just test it, because if you want to go like in the shadows and you want to bring in more blue, you can just take that down, put it to shadows, or play with the color on the color wheel. And also this tool works in a way that the center is the neutral point, and the further you go out to the edge, the more saturated it gets. And it gives you a lot of control. You can even also lighten and darken the different tonal areas. So you have a lot of tools to choose from. And as you can obviously see, curves are my most favorite one, because I just feel that I can do everything with it, and I feel I have the most control. But there's no right or wrong way to color grade, right?
No, you can definitely get like that bit more control with curves. The only thing you have to be aware of with curve, like the trade-off, but it's so minor, is that when you're adjusting curves, you might be adjusting luminosity as well, whereas the color balance tool kind of decouples that. But then in the curve tool, you know, you've got way more control with picking all those curve points out to do exactly what you need. But I think if you're interested in color grading, color balance tool is a great place to start, because you can experiment with different colors and looks and feels. And then the curve tool is, you know, then you graduate up to the curve tool, or you do exactly what you do, Jan, and you combine the two together depending what's appropriate. So
yes,
no wrong usage. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And another thing that I would love to quickly point out, not to confuse anyone here, is if you have one image, you've worked on one, and you have like a grading or a base for a grading that you're satisfied with, it could be a good idea to just copy all the settings, apply it to the next image. So you have the same, for example, like adjustments already in the shadows, and then you can take it from there and tweak the things that you want to tweak to make it match the others more. Like then, for example, here I took the clarity down much more. I adjusted the vignetting to have the lighter edges, and I adjusted the exposure, but the color setting has been the same to start with. Here, so blue was already inserted, but here I made a switch. I went from the cyan that has been introduced, for example, in the floor of the other $1 Million Baby and the piano shot. I went for bringing some more red in, because the original movie poster or the original movie Moulin Rouge more has this kind of red tones and not too blue greenish tones, and that is how that grading became like the chosen one. And then the next layer was just to desaturate it overall a bit with just a saturation slider, and then the dodging was used to just enhance a few of the details of the model and to make it pop a little more, to make it a bit more, let's say, three-dimensional, the image. And this one was used to darken it slightly. And yes, I could have done that on the image layer, but as I said, I always do that on separate layers just to be sure that I have the control over the opacity slider. When I put all the images of that one series, in this case, the images of Moulin Rouge together, so that I can make sure that, they just match. And for example, we were here, and I felt that I want to darken the lights slightly, and I wanted to lighten the subject a bit to make her pop even more. So if these are turned off, you can see the difference. And that was the final base. Then to take it to Photoshop to bring in all the dancers from a different shot and make sure that the composite is finished. Same here. It looked like that. And here you can see what the grading did to bring them to be the same family, and also have the same cinematic lighting as we wanted it to be, like this very vivid, colorful series of images.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, MOJA, we're almost nearly out of time. So it's amazing
we
how
went
quickly
through
it
all
goes.
the images.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I have a couple of questions for you. I've got a couple of Capture One questions and a couple of non-Capture One. So the first one is from friend of the house, Tina Eisen, who you may have seen with me live streaming and events around the world. So hi, Tina, and shout out. She's at Next today in the UK. So hi to you guys. So Tina says, Jan and MOJA, how did you agree on the 6 movies to pick?
I guess you can answer that.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's we analyze a lot of films which could match with the idea of the film, and we propose those films to clients, and together with the clients we decide to analyze 6 of them plus 2 more, and to go on for at least 2 months with different people, different brainstormings to see which film would fit the best. What we're gonna do. So is not done with only Jan. It's done with a lot of persons, including the makeup artist, including the hair artist, including the stylist. There are a lot of people around the table with a lot of meetings, kind of one per week for at least 3 months. Just to decide which films we're gonna do. So it's a collective, and I'm coming, and I'm because I'm against the star system. So of course the photographer leads the the pictures at the end, but he's not the only one who can take the paternity of the picture. You've seen with what Jan has been done here. It's drastically enhanced the image and gets to another level. So a picture, and it's done by a lot of people, really a lot of, and you have to bring them to the set, to the shoot, because they're going to come with their ideas, and you have to listen to them. So the decision of which films, what to do, which props to get into the image, it's a decision that I don't take alone. I have a team of very, very professional people, and we decide together.
Clarifying point, the use of the term plate, which is, I think, comes up more in cinema, I guess, like the back plate or the plate. So I suppose if we translate that to photography, we talk background and subject. So a couple of people also asked, do you composite in Capture One? Nope, we can't do that in Capture One. That's very much a Photoshop task. But of course, the benefit of having the plate, which is the background, and the subject as two separate things, you know, as you said, Moya, that, you know, your light source you can control specifically for your subject, and then your plate. So common technique, I guess, two different shots combined into one. But I guess the key is that each element has the best lighting for it, I suppose, without spilling over onto the other one.
Yes, not only. If you take the picture of the theater, the main character has been shot at 1/250, so very high speed. And the dancers that we have had the camera stood on the tripod at the same place, and the dancers has been shot at 30th of a second, just to have them moving and stuff. So it's not only the lighting, but it's also when you work with flashes, which are very, very strong, 3,200 joules, and LEDs, which are 800 joules or 1,200 joules only. You have to differentiate the speed of the shot. So it's not only lighting; it's also technique of shooting.
Fabulous. Frederick was asking, there don't seem to be any pure blacks. Is that from like hazing the set, or are you fading the blacks up with curves, levels, or something else? I actually quite like there's no pure blacks, almost like it's lovely subtle tonality, if you understand Frederick's question.
Yes, I think I do. So I think in the beginning, I might have mentioned that depending on the image on a base layer, I love to open the shadows, and I love to counter that with the blacks, with the black slider, so that we open like the quarter tones and make sure that the very blacks stay black. But the effect of this kind of approach with the high dynamic range, and also like opening the darks, opens the room for making this kind of dreamy color grade possible. So the black point is lifted, but not in every channel. So the green one stays the same, no green in the shadows, but I want to have some red and some blue in it. And if I take this off, let's see, the color grade leaves from the shadows, and it gets more black. Yet again, the high dynamic range does the other part to go a bit away from the blacks. And let's go 2 steps back like this. You can also see in the histogram that it's not completely black. Then this is to create the scene, to create the color. It might happen later in the post-production that there will be more contrast in the final image, or that blacks are enhanced. It depends on how it's going to be presented. If it's only digital, it doesn't matter. If it is for a very complex print, like we had in Cannes for the backlit panels, I might go in and change that in Photoshop later to prepare for the final print, because we took it from the raw image to Photoshop, into InDesign, into the final print files. So we created everything from the beginning to the end. And we had to make sure, also in close collaboration with the printing house in Cannes, to make sure that it gets the best possible quality. And a few things, as we were, and MOJA already mentioned, we needed to pinpoint a few things and make sure. And of course, we had the luxury of being able to produce some test prints and rerun them, because we wanted to go as close to the edge as possible. And that was a luxury that we had, because you don't always have that. And we were able to really play with it and make sure that we get the result that we want by
but
trying.
not having dark black or very highlighted, it matches as well the way we were shooting cinema in traditional way. When a too dark image, it's a hole, and it's not good, because it takes a lot of heat on the film. And too bright on the films, on the traditional films, the too bright was going on the soundtrack and was making a noise. So films were made always, the white were not 100%. The white are at 80 to 90%, and the black are always at 10 to 15%. So that's why I liked not having too much dark and clear image on the image.
Okay, last question to finish up. And this is, I'm combining a bunch of questions together. So there was a few on the intersection between, Capture One and Photoshop. Just as I said, to clear up, you can't composite in Photoshop, but doubt you'll ever be able to composite in Capture One, because, sorry, you can't composite in Capture One. Highly doubt you'll ever be able to, because there's, a million other tools, of course, which Jan, you would use for composition. But in terms of moving from Capture One to Photoshop, it's clear that you're doing a lot of toning and control to the images in Capture One with the plates and the subject images. At what point do you then say, okay, I'm done in Capture One, I'm now going to go to Photoshop? Is it only for composition, or are you still doing major work, or is it minor work? How would you summarize it, if you can?
I like to answer that with two scenarios. So the first is, if you work commercially and you are about to create color grades, I love to do as much as I can in Capture One, because I want to get the most out of the raw file. Yet working commercially limits you in some ways, because it might be not just the photographer and the retouch artist having to align on this. There might be an agency or a client or some other stakeholders involved. And if you have that situation and you go wild in Capture One and you do as much as you can, and you bring that to Photoshop and you start compositing the scene, and you do some of we have a signature treatment that we always do to images, to have it a certain language. And so that these are steps that are necessary in Photoshop after all the retouch and fine-tuning work that needs to be done when compositing. If I would then have to go back and change the color grade, it would be a pain and almost impossible to do, because it takes too much time. So the first approach is creating a neutral or close to neutral image, something that we can align on before going to Photoshop and before doing the composition. And then in a commercial job, working on all the rest. In this case, MOJA and me were able to align on everything because we are working hand in hand. And I was able to, just reach out and say, hey, how do you like that? And is that a step that we can align on?
And because you're there at the time of capture, as well as MOJA said.
Yes, but the grading, the final grading, happened later in the studio. So we had a baseline, but of course we had to fine tune everything and make sure that all the images that have been set that first needed to be selected, it was a million of pictures, of course. And we had to select all of those. We had to choose the ones that had to be composited and so on. So we created the look aligned on the look, and then I took the parts to Photoshop. I did the composite. I did some cropping maybe, and also some retouching steps like working on the skin, some hair adjustments, balancing out certain things, making sure that we get the film grain in, and so that we do the final color touch-ups and balancing everything. And then we're good to go. And then it's going to be like the print file is going to be produced. It's going to be in the layout, and then all the text goes on, and then final print file is sent to the printing house. And this is basically the workflow.
Fantastic. Well, perhaps Jan and Moya, you can help us out, as there's like 50,000 more questions. I think what I'd like to suggest is that, so our live stream went straight to YouTube as well, so it's on our YouTube channel. So I think if anyone has any burning questions, if you don't mind helping us out, Jan, if I tell people to comment on that recording, which will kind of switch to recording the moment we stop broadcasting, then if you don't mind checking back in a couple of days and answering a couple of questions, that would be great. Fantastic. Yeah. And just to finish on a nice comment from Martin, he said, a very professional and superbly explained presentation. Please bring both of these professionals back, please. There we go. So you have to come back now.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to say the last thing. We are back to work on these project Women in Cinema for next year. If there are some photographers willing to assist the shoot or maybe assist some other steps of the production, feel free. We are totally open. We don't protect anything. And we can welcome 10 to 12 persons on site. So don't hesitate to ask, and we'll welcome you in Luxembourg. Unfortunately, it will not be.
Well, that sounds like a pretty decent offer and a good place to visit. So, yeah. Brilliant. Yes. Well, thank you, Moya, for that and for joining us and carving time out of your precious hours in your day as well. And thank you to Jan as well. As I said, find the live stream on our YouTube channel, and this way, if you comment there, then I'll help out with answers. And yeah, Jan and Moya, if you don't mind chipping in as well, that would be great. As long as we don't get, an influx of thousands of comments, but that's a positive problem we can deal with, I'm sure.
Of course. Great. No, pleasure. Thanks very much, shared guys. This with you. Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Moya.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, David, for having us and waiting the next Capture One release.
Oh yes, always good, more fun stuff coming this year as well.
Thank you for this.
All right, take care, everybody, and
thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.